How's it going, everyone? Today I wanted to talk about some of the worst mods that you can possibly do to your Saab 9.3, and this has really just been a video I've been wanting to make for quite a while now, just seeing a lot of posts on Facebook about some of these mods, and I just figured it can serve as somewhat of a PSA, but also keep in mind that this is completely my opinion. Some of you may like some of these mods, and that's totally okay. Feel free to hate this video if you want to. Again, this is just my opinion on these 5 particular mods. If your car does happen to have any of these mods, I'm not saying your car is trash, it sucks, it's bad, but they're just 5 of the mods that, like, when I look at these cars and I see, I'm like, why? Before you do that though, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. A vast majority of you that watch my channel are not subscribed, and I'm trying to reach 100,000 subscribers at one point or another, so feel free to help me out in reaching that goal. Some of these mods are cosmetic mods, some of them are engine mods, so a lot of them, when I was kind of putting this list together, the most common car that these are usually done on are the 2003 and newer 9.3s with the 2-liter turbocharged engine like this one right here, but you've seen them on other Saabs, and some of these mods may work on other Saabs, but just keep in mind it's kind of like through the lens of the NG 9.3 with the 2-liter turbo engine. Speaking of that, number 5 on this list has nothing to do with engine or anything like that, and that is Plastidip. Now, I have seen Plastidip on some Saabs before, and they have been extremely well done. Like, professionally done Plastidip jobs can look very good. So do not let me mistake that. But when people start Plastidipping random parts that aren't supposed to be, you know, random colors, for example, like dipping your dash like a bright red or something like that, and all this down here like random like neon themed colors, to me it's kind of just ruins the whole interior of the car. It seems like when everyone first starts in Plastidip, they start with their gas cap for God knows what reason. So if you're Plastidipping your gas cap, I mean, I guess that's, you know, a cool place to start if you want to, but I just think that given what Saab stands for, those types of Plastidip jobs do not really fit the car brand. Number 4, and this is one that I've been seeing less and less of over the last year or so, and that is Chinese tuning chips. So I really need to make a video on tuning companies for Saab and the Saab 9.3 and all that, because I get questions about it quite frequently. But one thing that you should never do is buy one of those eBay tuning chips that's like $49 or $75 and just throw it in the car, because I guarantee you it's either going to brick your ECU, the car's going to go in limp mode and throw a bunch of codes, or it's just not going to be any faster and it's going to be a waste of money. If you've been in Saabs a while, particularly with the new generation 9.3s, you'll know that these cars are very picky when it comes to the ECU and things that you can do to them. So really when it comes to tunes, you want to make sure you're getting tunes from a good reliable tuner, someone like MapTune or V-Tuner, or, you know, there's countless different companies out there that do good tuning for Saabs. Just make sure you do your research beforehand on it, but definitely stay away from the Chinese ones, because it's not worth it. Number 3 is putting some sort of big wing or something that's not supposed to be on the exterior of your Saab on it. So I actually did see a post a couple weeks ago. I don't remember who it was, and I don't mean to call them out, but they'd put a huge wing on the back of their 9.3, and people are like, why are you doing that? You know, it doesn't make any sense. It's a front wheel drive car. Why do you need a ton of downforce in the rear? And, you know, it just, to me, it doesn't make sense. Again, it's another one of those mods like the Plastidip. It just doesn't fit the character of this car. Like, if you look at mine right here, I have an aero spoiler on here. It's nice, it's subtle, but it's still a little bit aggressive, so it gets the job done. I know MapTune offers an aftermarket wing. I believe it's MapTune. I'll put a picture on the screen right here. And that one is like, anything bigger than that is kind of like considered a big wing, in my opinion. And again, if you have a big wing, you like it, feel free to hate me, you know, but that just my opinion personally, I don't think they fit very well on these cars. These last 2 mods here are by far like some of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to these cars. So number 2 is what I like to call a hot air intake. So a lot of people like to put open air intakes, or they call them cold air intakes. A cold air intake is not an intake that just has an open shield or an open filter right here. That is not a cold air intake. A cold air intake by definition would be routing the air intake out of the engine bay, like somewhere in the bumper here, kind of like the stock one, because the stock intake is actually right here. It routes down through the bumper and up into the airbox where the air filter is. So the stock intake is actually a cold air intake already. Now an open air intake, like the intake that I had on this car for a while, is just an intake with a heat shield and an open filter. And quite frankly, on these, they sound really good because you get a ton of blow off noise, and it's a really cool sound. And the only reason I got rid of mine was because the pipe was cracked and kept getting codes for it, you know, but that's completely beside the point. Now, hot air intake is where you remove your stock airbox and you just put a filter on here. You have no sort of heat shield, and all you're doing is sucking in hot air straight from the engine bay. Like, this obviously gets very hot. So when you're putting a hot air intake on your Saab, you're just really making it slower, if I'm being completely honest, because hot air is less dense, means you're getting less air, less performance, pretty self-explanatory. So if you are out there, you do have an open air intake without a heat shield on it, get a heat shield made for it. I know that there are probably options out there. It wouldn't be very hard to fabricate one either. You really just need something here, cut a hole so the intake pipe can fit through, and then back here, but really right along here especially. And that leads me to the absolute worst mod that you can do to your Saab 9.3. Number one, I'm again specifically referring to the NG 9.3. There are other Saabs, especially older Saabs like T5 cars I know, for example, don't have a problem with this, but that is a blow-off valve. There is zero reason to do a blow-off valve on your NG 9.3. There are people who do it, and you know, they get it to work without any codes, but I just, like, what's the point? I don't see a point to it. The main reason why people like to do blow-off valves on these is to hear that whoosh when you let off the gas and all the boost pressure releases, but that's the same kind of noise that you get, very similar at least, when you do an open air intake on one of these. So it's like, if you really want that noise, just do an open air intake. And I feel like I'm on Facebook groups a couple times a week telling people this exact thing, because there's always someone asking about a blow-off valve. So because of how these cars work, if you do just throw a blow-off valve, usually they like cut up this intake pipe right here and just kind of stick it on, and it usually doesn't look very good either. And I also have my engine cover missing. I took it off to look at a couple things and just forgot to put it back on, so disregard that, but I guess it helps you see all this right here a little bit better. Usually when you do this mod though, you're going to get some sort of check engine light. Like there was a guy the other day who said like, oh, I put a blow-off valve on and now my car's not making any boost. It's like, because these cars don't like this mod. Like, just, if you want to do it, just put an open air intake on it. You'll get very similar results, and your car's not going to hate you for it. Just make sure you have a heat shield. So 1 and 2 kind of go hand in hand. Those are definitely like my two big like pet peeves that I always see people asking about. And again, if you have either of these mods or any of these 5 mods on your 9.3, please don't hate me. I'm not trying to trash your car, so please understand that these are just, in my opinion, some of the mods that these cars were not meant to have. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I'm sure the purists are just giving me a huge round of applause right now. I mean, but the purists already hate me because I modify my cars anyways. But with that being said, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my Patreon. It'll be linked at the top of the description. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks for watching.